Today I'm going to be reacting to this Bleacher Report article about Jrue Holliday and possible landing spots for Jrue Holliday. So if you didn't know, or as many NBA fans know, Jrue Holliday has been put on the trade block by the Pelicans, which is actually pretty big news because he's still a pretty good player. Not a pretty, I wouldn't say pretty good. I think he's still a good player, and he can make a difference on a contending team, put him over the hump. It's definitely a valuable piece, and he's a great veteran to add to your team. I love Jrue Holliday. I think he's a good player. I think his value has been overlooked by some NBA fans because of all his injuries, and I don't know, just overshadowed by being on the Pelicans without Anthony Davis and how Zion has kind of emerged. So the Pelicans are basically looking to move Jrue Holliday because he doesn't really fit their timeline. He's an older player. I don't know his exact age. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to be wrong, but he just doesn't fit their timeline with Zion and Brandon Ingram and all that young talent. So it makes sense, but I am scared for the Pelicans because I do think without Jrue Holiday, you kind of could be making your team worse. I mean, Zion, of course, is great, but you gotta understand, Jrue Holiday is a good player. So, if you want to be good, you might keep Jrue, but they're not really looking to, obviously, because he's on the trade block. But that's the thing. They'll probably get a valuable piece back for him or some young talent. So, it fits their timeline, and that's why he's on the trade block. So, let's get into the first trade. This article was published November 5th, which was 2 days ago, so it's still pretty current. And let's see, okay, the first one is for the Brooklyn Nets and a possible trade. Bleacher Report is saying is Brooklyn would receive Jrue Holiday and New Orleans would get Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, and Jared Allen. I'm going to just come out and say immediately this trade is just not happening. This is not a trade happening. I could see Brooklyn trading for him. I'm not saying I don't see Brooklyn trading for him. I actually think he's a possible landing spot for Jrue Holiday. But the issue is you're asking for Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, and Jared Allen. And that's just not going to happen. If that trade goes through, they need to fucking veto it. That's not to that extent, but it's pretty bad. It's a pretty bad trade. Like, if New Orleans gets this, it's a fleece. It's a fleece if you ask me. I mean, I think Jrue Holiday's worth something, but the Nets are giving up basically their 3 trade pieces because, I mean, they're not really looking to trade Kyrie or KD, and these are their 3 other best players. And, it just worries me because Jared Allen is insanely underrated by NBA fans for some reason. It drives me nuts, but Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, and Jared Allen, I don't think is happening. Spencer Dinwiddie and Karis LeVert combined, maybe. That's a maybe. Or one of them and Jared Allen, but I really, really hope the Nets don't give up Jared Allen. I mean, I don't know. I really think, if anything, it'd be Dinwiddie and Karis combined for Jrue, or one of those players, or one of these 3 players and picks attached, because the Nets are in win now mode and they need to move on from one of these guys for Jrue. So it makes sense. But I don't know what the Nets pick situation is, so I just don't see this happening. The next trade is the Denver Nuggets, and so the Denver would get Jrue Holiday, and before I even read the rest of this, I do think Denver is a very realistic landing spot for Jrue Holiday. I think it makes sense for their timeline. They were in the Western Conference Finals. Jrue Holiday is a good player, and they need that veteran ball handling leadership in the playoffs. I'm not saying Jamal Murray can't handle the ball, but having another ball handler to run the pick and roll with Jokic and whatnot is very useful. So I think this is a very likely landing spot. But Denver would get Jrue Holiday, and New Orleans would get Will Barton, Gary Harris, and draft picks. Now, I could see, I don't hate this trade. I could see this happening. It is time for Denver to make a move for a veteran. I think they had a great playoff run. So yeah, the Nuggets made the Western Conference Finals last year, and as I was saying, it's time for them to make that move for Jrue Holiday. I think this fits them perfectly. But Will Barton, Gary Harris, and draft picks. I don't hate this because Gary Harris, his value is pretty much fallen. I mean, I still think he's a serviceable NBA player. I'm not even doubting that. I mean, he's had injuries, but Will Barton, I don't know how important he is to the Nuggets. I mean, they didn't even really use him in the playoffs. And Gary Harris didn't really get any playing time in the playoffs, but I could see this happening if it's Will, Gary, and like a late first, or yeah, probably a late first. That will probably, if I don't think it's a bad trade for either side, because Denver needs Jrue Holiday. I actually don't hate this. I don't hate it at all, actually. I think this helps both teams because the more and more I think about it, Will Barton and Gary Harris didn't even really contribute to the playoffs. They have Bol emerging, MPJ. You take Jrue Holiday, and if you're not giving up like an early first or future first that could be early, I don't hate it. I think this is a possible landing spot and a good trade. All right. Yeah, this fucking sucks. I don't get why. Nah, I mean, no, this just isn't happening. There's no way New Orleans doesn't get a better offer than this. Like, there's just no fucking way. I'm sorry. Like, it just doesn't make sense for New Orleans. They're trying to get younger. I mean, CJ McCollum's a little bit younger, a couple years younger. But, like, I don't know how this helps them. They're not getting any draft picks out of this. They're kind of just doing a one-for-one swap. I don't think it helps Portland either. I mean, this trade just is not happening. This is bad. I mean, it's not terrible, but like, it's pretty fucking bad. I'm gonna say, yeah, this trade sucks. This is not happening. And if it happens, I will give everyone who likes this video $10. I don't even care because that's how confident this shit is not happening. Portland, it doesn't make sense for Portland. I mean, it just doesn't. I don't see this happening. If anything, I mean, I don't even see it happening, but Kevin Love to Portland makes so much more sense. There's about 10 other people to Portland over this. This isn't happening. New Orleans is going to get a better offer. They're going to get younger. They're not trying to get McCollum. This is the worst one on this list by far. If we're going to rank these, it's definitely. Oh, I forgot how bad this one was. Holy shit. I would say probably this one is the least likely. This one right here is just, where is it? God damn it. The Nets one is just the worst. It's not happening. This is the only trade you guys should possibly be really believing on this article because it's the most likely. It makes the most sense. The other two honestly suck. This is actually a pretty good proposal. I could see happening, but I gave my criticism to this one. Take a player out. If they give up all three, this sucks. That's all.